Hey guys, this is Justin. Hello and welcome to another video. So today we're talking episode 11, caught myself there, episode 11 of The Bad Batch Season 2. As a content creator, I've got kind of a tough job right now. As you guys probably know, I also run a Star Wars Clips channel, X-Clips. So with The Mandalorian and The Bad Batch coming out on the same day, I got a lot of work to do. I plan to do dedicated videos on most episodes of The Mandalorian, so the way I'm going to do it, I think, is The Mandalorian episodes will come out the day it releases, and if I cover The Bad Batch for the week, I will do it probably the day after, except for maybe the finale. So I gotta say, I've really been enjoying this season of The Bad Batch, and it feels to me like these last 5 episodes, including today's, is where the show is really going to hit its stride. If we keep getting weekly adventure episodes, I'm largely going to consider the show, or at least the season, somewhat of a disappointment. However, if we keep getting episodes like today's, which now, after prior episodes, which were a mix of plot-based and Adventure of the Week based, now work together a bigger idea, I'm going to be very happy. And the real rumor is that it's episode 12 that's one of the real standouts of the season. Anyway, one of my favorite things the Bad Batch does is pick up plot threads from the Clone Wars, sometimes as in the Kashyyyk episode, that means entirely neglected episodes which never made it to air. Today, however, we're picking up a plot thread started in the Clone Wars but never finished, that of course being that of the Zillo Beast. For those who didn't watch those 2 episodes in the Clone Wars, it basically starts when the Republic bombs Malastare. They wake up a massive creature, they take it to Coruscant, it goes all Godzilla, and the episode ends with Palpatine threateningly saying, "Let's not kill this thing, let's go study it." And for a long time we were wondering whatever happened of that. Well, now we know. And the great thing is, this Zillo Beast experiment is not really a big thing. I get the feeling that this is one of many experiments that Palpatine has going on at Mount Tantus. Omega actually hints at that. She states how the Kaminoans were performing other experiments for the Republic and later the Empire off-site. Off-site being, of course, Mount Tantus, and I love what we got of Mount Tantus this episode. Again, we get the idea that the whole Zillo Beast thing, that's just one thing that the scientists there are dealing with, and there's several much bigger projects, including one that's sort of vaguely alluded to this episode but never expanded upon. I assume that will be what we learn about in the season finale or one of the next episodes. We're introduced to Dr. Hemlock, a very strange Imperial scientist trying to get some unique talent or ability out of the Kaminoans. Now, presumably this has something to do with cloning, and the theories range everywhere from they simply want to make a new line of even better soldiers to they're experimenting on Grogu or a Jedi, or they're trying to work on the early stages of Palpatine's plans. I really enjoyed those parts of the episode, and I just wonder whether the animation team is working with The Mandalorian. I mean, there's a very big cloner in that, Dr. Pershing. We know the new season will be spending some time on Coruscant, so I'm curious to whether we see any sort of converging ideas. Anyway, we learned that Nala Se is still alive, though uncooperative, as is former Kaminoan President Lama Su. As this is happening, of course, the Bad Batch gets a call from our favorite scaly friend, Sid, and they're given a job to do. Now, is it a bit too much of a coincidence that the Bad Batch are running into this highly confidential and risky experiment of the Empire? I mean, yeah, probably. I did actually really enjoy the scenes when they were on the ship, though. I thought that was a ton of fun. I especially liked Omega's reaction, and it's easy to forget that she's a kid. She's got fear. We see some of her other childlike attributes throughout the show. She doesn't listen to authority sometimes, but I really liked the scene where Tech, just completely not thinking, mentions how the entire crew's been eaten by the monster, and it scares the shit out of her. I gotta say, I feel like Tech's really been a standout in the second half of this season, and he had great stuff this episode. Some communication with Omega as he was trying to get the files about what turned out to be the Zillo Beast. Later, there's a sequence where they're running away and he protects her from an explosion. I really liked all that. I do think it's weird how Hunter has continued, however, to sort of fall to the wayside. We do actually learn a bit more about the Zillo Beast after it appears in this episode. It specifically feeds on electricity, and that makes me wonder whether the Republic's electron bombing of Malastare not only awoken the last Zillo Beast, but gave it a major major power surge. I like the design of the creature. The full-size Zillo Beast is a bit weird with its fingers. I thought the smaller one was pretty cool, but we know now that the Kaminoans were successful in cloning this one at least, and I do wonder whether they've found a way to make use of its protective armor. One thing that I said somewhat jokingly on Twitter is maybe this leads to the Dark Trooper program. People responded with, well, Luke cut through that, and that is true. However, Luke could have specifically been hitting joints, or maybe nothing is as good as the real thing in nature. Kylo Ren also fights a Zillo Beast in the Age of Resistance comic, and I've got to wonder whether that could accidentally be one of the clone ones escaped from Wayland, because according to legend, the Zillo Beast were pretty much completely wiped out on Malastare. I thought this episode looked great visually, and that really shined in the last sequence. There was that shot of the vendors coming in, launching fighters, and all I could think about was how different these ships feel now that they're Imperial gray. There's a real menacing sense to them. We saw them in atmosphere on Coruscant a couple of episodes ago. Now they're launching fighters, and it's kind of funny because during the second episode of the Zillo Beast arc, it's kind of similar. The Republic uses lats to try to take down the creature, and they eventually do. It's interesting how lats and starfighters were employed again this time, but it's just so much more threatening, and the same is true with the clone commandos. Gotta say, the clone commandos in this episode are some of the best looking troopers Star Wars has ever had, but the action was also great too. The space chase as the Havoc Marauder is nearly shot down on several occasions. I actually thought it was a great week for space chases. I won't mention anything else, but if you know, you know. But I also thought it was interesting that now the Bad Batch knows a little more about Palpatine. I mean, from their time on Coruscant, they know what kind of a manipulator he is, but now they also know that he was working on some kind of sketchy shit before he officially took the role as Emperor. That information will be sent out to Rex and Echo, and I'm going to make the prediction that at some point we will see an episode either with just Rex and Echo or with dual perspectives, Rex and Echo and the rest of the team. I guess the big questions I still have regarding the rest of the season is, are we now in sort of the last stretch? We got the same thing with the Bad Batch season 1. Once the show found focus at the end, it deviated from the Monster of the Week episodes, and it became, I think, really good in that sense. I like Monster of the Week, but you need to have that plot progression at the end. Are we going to see that with the Bad Batch? Are we going to see more about what's going on Wayland? I assume so, especially based on some leak episode names. And how is this going to tie into not only the Mandoverse, which a lot of people are suspecting, but the greater universe as a whole? One final thing I want to mention at the end of the episode, I can't believe I almost forgot this. At the very end, this is a huge moment. Omega's name specifically is given to the cloners. She's on their radar. I wonder how that is going to eventually cause the conflict between the Bad Batch and the secrets of Wayland. Anyway, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.